What's up, guys? Ash here, and today is a milestone. Of course, this marks the first. Every character has at least one class video. Hey, thank goodness. It's been tons of fun, and looking forward to doing more. But today, of course, we're talking about the bare-chested man himself, Heixing, and his ranger class. Let's get straight into the video. Ranger is an incredible range support class that excels at a multitude of things, but I think its true strength lies in its responsive attacks. Right here we're on 50 Violent. Giselle just did a confirmed target for the increased hit and crit chance. And Ray's going to start a spray shot that's going to set off a massive domino effect of pincers and responsive fires. And so much so that, Flamecon went from full health to about half, and he's switching into overheat mode. And this is where Heixing comes in. So he's going to crit headshot for, quarter health and eventually finish him off, which is obviously awesome. But he also didn't forget about the spray shot from Ray, so he's actually going to fire support both of them at the same time. And on top of this, the Bicron's actually going to turn around and start to run with auto dodge mobility. That's going to trigger Heixing's Overwatch shot. So he basically just got four actions in a row. And if you'll notice, for his A2, it's really not that bad. He got back up immediately, and with the current build that I'm using, he's getting approximately negative 50 AT per kill. So it's very easy for him to keep up responses while also staying in turn with the rest of the party. Hastings' responsives are actually so powerful that not only are they his offense, but they're also his defense as well. We're here in 47 Violent, and we're having a scuffle with Grey Yasha, and as you can see, a ton of responses are going off, and it ends up saving the day. We'll go ahead and take another closer look at this in a more detailed fashion here. So, Grey Yasha triggers Overcharge. He's only at 16 health. Heixing actually would have killed him with severe bleeding, but he cleared it on the start of his turn. Fortunately, there's a trap waiting for him, so as soon as he goes, he immediately takes the hit and dies. But Grey Yasha has Second Heart. He's going to revive again, and he's going to be at full health. So he's at 3,000 now. Heixing Overwatch shots and does exactly 220 with a block, but more importantly, he gets severe bleeding off, and this is going to, you'll be able to see this come into play later in the video. Giselle's going to fire support off of the Overwatch, and then Ray is actually going to cover Heixing based on Grey Yasha attacking him. And this is going to leave him incredibly low, exactly 274, which means if Heixing were to fire again and get blocked, he'd only hit for 220. Well, it turns out Grey Yasha actually does have final resistance, so it is going to get blocked for sure, but this time Heixing hits for 330 instead of 220, and that's actually because of hemorrhage inside Blood Red Bullet. And it's the little details that kind of add up, and this is a perfect example of that. And even though Heixing does kind of excel at being a team player on Ranger and doing, responsive fires and fire supports and stuff, he does okay on his own as well. We're doing a solo run here in 44 Violent, and we're going to start by getting rid of some of these eggs. Of course, Sweeping Fire, probably one of the most powerful abilities in the game. But with Overwatch, you can see anything that comes near him, he's going to kill, and he's going to get his turn right back up again. Right here, we're getting a little bit deeper in. We're going to trigger Chain Fire and take out this boss. And then take a shot onto the Queen. And this is actually really important. So, anytime you're using him, you want to kill all the units that have kind of lightning reflexes, darkness hunter, anything that gives them kind of a dodge to responsives, because that's what he really needs to aim for. Because honestly, things that don't or cannot dodge, he's probably going to kill and rather easily. And of course, every time he kills, he's just going to get up again from the negative 50 AT that he's receiving. Right here, we have Dark Baron, and he's very low health. He took bleeding, and he survived just with 3 health. He's in overcharge in a good spot in order to kill Heixing, but he's going to activate his flight ability, and Heixing's just going to shoot him and kill him dead right there. So Heixing's back up again. He's going to continue his murder spree. And unfortunately, the Queen is going to run away. And like I was mentioning earlier, you saw Draki's perfect scale go off there, which is basically lightning reflexes. And unfortunately, Heixing couldn't kill him. But we're going to pursue the chase after the queen and move deeper in. Of course, you're always going to run into more Draki, so this is actually well timing because guess what? Sweeping Fire is back up again. So he just unloads, kills everything but the queen. Queen's pretty low though; she's only at 1,000 now. So his turn ends after the Sweeping Fire, and of course another Draki comes up from behind him. But Overwatch, and he just gets up again and then goes straight for direct fire with the queen. And that's all she wrote. Heixing also has incredible synergy with pets. Right here we have Snow Mountain Crabman, and he's basically just freezing everything that comes up to him. And this is perfect for Heixing, who has excellent area damage with Sweeping Fire, and they're already all frozen. That means there's no chance of block, which is when Heixing gets really deadly. And just like with pets, this includes drones as well here. You can see White Clown blocked again. Game's still catching up with it, but the White Clown blocked every hit there, and it didn't really matter. The drone Ares here is just unloading on him, and every time it unloads, Heixing's going to fire with responsives. This is going to get him up even faster, and he's just going to continue the kill spree. So it's really awesome to have any kind of pets alongside him and drones. Back on that same map, Heixing is actually getting pretty close to gaining up. He's on 20 AT, but somebody runs into his responsive fire, and guess what? He's up again. This leads into probably one of the most powerful regular abilities in the game. This is strong enough to be most people's overcharge, honestly. So, of course, we're talking about Sweeping Fire, and goodness gracious, does it do crazy amounts of damage to such a wide area. This would easily be considered good for most people's overcharge. But, for some odd reason, this is a regular ability, and I feel like we kind of take that for granted with Heixing because we've had it since, when we first use them. But make no mistake, it is certainly not one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful area damage effect in the game. And right here, you can see 100% crit, 100% hit, maybe a few 97s here and there, but he is nasty, and anything that lives is still going to get bonded. It's still going to get fire supported by Giselle. It really is such an incredible ability, and on such a low cooldown timer too. Heixing also has a machine killing specialization. This is due to a mastery called Machine Hunter, which is more or less going to double his damage. So right here we're fighting Schwarzdestron, and he's got 3,400 hit. Of course, you can only do a quarter of his damage per hit with damage absorbing, but you can see he's going to max out on everything. It doesn't matter if it's a Kron or a Destron. Heixing's going to hit for full damage, and machines will be no problem. Further along in that map, we've actually got White and Blood Destron kind of EMP'd over here, and Heixing's going to Sweeping Fire. He's going to get that Bicron in the back. He's going to get this poor mercenary on the side. He's also going to trigger Armor Break thanks to, I believe it's I Can Do This Mastery set, where it just allows him to shred anything mechanical. Irene's going to go ahead and get up, and she's going to take some fisticuffs to White Destron here. Of course, hit for full damage absorbing health on White Destron, which is 1438. Anne's going to come in with a pincer, and look at that White Mage DPS. Hell yeah, Anne. And then, of course, Heixing's going to come up with fire support. So he just absolutely murders machines like it's absolutely nothing. And you can really see this here where Thundercon has activated Berserk but is frozen thanks to Snow Mountain Crabmit. And of course, if Heixing does get a headshot in, which is pretty often, you're going to see pretty damn high numbers, high enough to easily take out any Kron and Berserk. So that's definitely very awesome. Hazing is one of the few characters that honestly does not need like a one-shot, one-kill build, or at least not on Ranger. Right here, we're on a story map, and White Clown comes up. You know, they have absolutely awesome block, and he just does a regular hit for its full health because of headshot. And of course, you know, that's going to take Hazing from 10 to immediately up on turn. He's going to move up, get a little bit farther, take out this black clown, and you know, and then he'll be back to whatever his normal turn would be. You don't even see him on the AT board, so he's at least plus 36 or so. Anyway, another black clown's gonna come up. Guess what? Responsive fire. Hazing's back up again. Just skipping turns because of minus 50 AT for each responsive kill. And you know, this kind of theme just keeps overlapping, and he is nasty. All right, guys, let's get into the abilities overview. So his basic ability is obviously very important. That's because of it is his responsive, and that is kind of the core of Ranger build, Overwatching, and all that stuff. So, three important things about Mind's Eye Shot. One, hit chance increased by 50%. That is nuts, and generally this will never miss regardless of your hit chance because of that. It's really a question of, do you get blocked, does it get lightning reflexed, or, you know, is it going to be a crit? Two, we're going to activate severe bleeding with 75% chance. That's going to be because of Blood Red Bullet. Normally without that, this is actually quite low. And then three, you're going to see 100% attack power across every ability of Hazing's with the exception of Checkfire, which is at 80%. But this is very important. You'll want to base a lot of your kit around Mind's Eye Shot. So for general ability, I recommend Checkfire, Sweeping Fire, Shooting Spree, and Sprint. And the only maybe being, of course, Shooting Spree. Put up against put distance, but I'm going to give a hard no to put distance, and here's why. If you check the damage type and attack type, you're going to get blunt melee. You know, in theory, this is kind of like a melee boss comes up and takes a swing at Hazing, and maybe he dodges because he's in a bush, and then you want to knock him back and stun him and then increase his AT. It sounds good in theory. The problem is it's not getting any of the bonuses that we'll be taking. So you'll see the full cast delay there, 24 vigor, whereas, you know, with check fire, 0 cast delay, 10 vigor, sweeping fire, same thing. Shooting spree, same thing. You can see all the ability reinforced masteries down there. Nimble Fingers, Piercing Shot, Reload, Rapid Fire, Blood Red Bullet. You're just not going to get that on put distance. So I really don't recommend this, but you could if you wanted. So Checkfire, this is a great ability and used well with Chain Fire. Important to note, this is going to decrease your crit chance by 20%. So I actually recommend you Chain Fire with this, start with Checkfire, and then do regular shot from Mind's Eye when you're using kind of single target. Sweeping Fire, again, probably the most powerful general ability in the game, or top 3, I would say. Just absolutely nuts, and a little bit of a speed modifier damage, so don't lack too much on Hazing's speed. You know, he has incredible AT reduction, but he does usually have trouble with getting to the fight. Once he's in the fight, he's perfectly fine. Checkfire also pulls from speed, so that's kind of cool. Shooting Spree, this is situational. Generally, this is for Hazing was in a bush and a ton of clowns surrounded him, and just screw it. You know, if they really want to go, let's go. And he'll do as many clowns are in the area, or however many units are in the area, he'll do that area damage. You also get a critical hit damage bonus, and very important, 100% bonus to still stance damage. So this is intended for he's surrounded, get the hell away from me. But this is a great ability. You could use it also offensively. You could, like, let's say Irene is tanking everything. You could run up behind her and then do Shooting Spree, not still stance, still do a ton of damage to everything around it. But generally, this is very specific. Sprint, of course, amazing ability. Any kind of movement ability in this game is so powerful. More importantly, though, this deactivates responsive attacks. So let's say Wade comes up in front of you, and you know that if you move or if you fire, he's going to activate Forestallment, and Hazing will likely die. This is where you'd want to sprint past This is also really good for getting into sniper towers and all that jazz. In general, you want Hazing and Giselle to always have elevated position. You always want them at a higher spot. And Hazing actually has an ability to teleport him up there. So this is absolutely amazing ability, and it definitely get lots of use out of this. For overcharge, Annihilation Shot is crazy. I will say, generally, the cast delay on Annihilation Shot is 100. So unless you're running Nimble Fingers and Rapid Fire, you're not going to see the 0 cast delay. But it is a really devastating ability. I would just like to note, you're going to lose 25% hit chance, which is very strange because Mind's Eye is going to give you almost guaranteed hit, and Annihilation Shot is probably going to ruin it. So if you're running very low hit chance, but you're running like a, let's say, Roar of Victory, Mad Dog build, you will want to up your hit chance some. But this is absolutely nuts ability. And then very situational based, you could use Dash with Gunfire. It does deactivate responsive attacks. It does give a ton of crit chance and crit damage. Just be careful where you aim this. If you go forward, there's a good chance he's going to end up in a bad spot, and you wouldn't want that. This is very much like a going reverse and, taking out something going after Anne kind of ability. And then we're absolutely not going to take Field of Zero. And that's because we're getting that negative 50 AT reduction. Literally, if you activated Field of Zero, something came in, you're responsive, then you killed it, you would then end Field of Zero and get your turn up. It doesn't work with this build, and that's why I'm not going to recommend it. Alright guys, we're going to move on to the stats, personal masteries, and equipment page. So for personal masteries, real quick, we're going to take Precision Fire. This is my recommendation, and it's mostly for the crit damage, but if you're just starting out on Hazing towards endgame, you're going to need the crit chance for sure. So this is very good and just solid all throughout. Mad Dog is actually a nice second. If you're going for kind of a overcharge build, you could do Roar of Victory with Mad Dog, and within 2 or 3 kills get overcharge. Definitely really good build, very viable, and something to consider. Would not take Road of Bitter Life. This is going to be AT reduction by 10 if you take damage. I'd much rather just kill something for negative 50 and not take damage than get negative 10. This would have to be a very specific build where you'd be building out a tank Hazing, and that's just not the purpose that we're trying to go for here. So for his stats, you won't see too many things that are important. Remember that Hazing is primarily a damage dealer class, so you'll want to focus on his offensive properties. But I did want to make a special note to speed. So I'm running 118, which is about average speed for my party, and very important to note, usual action time is 48. That means that when I do Mind's Eye Shot, I'll just be at 48 AT, and this is very important because if you were to responsive fire right now and kill, you'd get that negative 50 AT, and Hazing would be up again. So when you've got like kind of a slower speed, let's say 100 or 90 or something, you're going to see kind of like a 56 usual action time, which is going to require 2 responses immediately after in order to run it. So I like staying under 50. That's just me. Attack power, obviously very important. You'll want to get as much as that as possible. Hit chance, again, for responsives, not a big deal, but very important for overcharge if you wanted to go that Roar Victory, Mad Dog build that I was mentioning. Crit chance, I'm sitting at 86% right now, but I would recommend that you get at least 75, and that's because one of the masteries we'll be taking will push you up 25% to 100. That way you don't really have to worry about like King's Sense or Exposed State or anything like that. You'll just always have this 100% crit chance build. And once you've hit that 75, you'll want to move into critical hit damage. It's very easily, Hazing's at what, like 360, 370 right now. Very easily to get 400% critical hit damage, even on Ranger. So, something to keep in mind. His defensive stats, not that great, nothing to write home about, and this will be more dependent on your gear and less dependent on your masteries. So for weapons, endgame, you'll want to be going for Sweeper. Again, once you hit that 75% crit chance threshold, you'll want a Sweeper prefix for sure. And I actually particularly like the level 50 gun because the passive is basically going to give you a pseudo catharsis, actually. If you notice in the 44 Violent, Heixing was just doing back-to-back sweeping fires, and that's one because sweeping fire is a low cooldown, but two because of this gun. So it allows him to kind of rotate sweeping fire very quickly. It also has a very high attack power. The only other gun I would consider for Ranger would, of course, be the BA-200. This has great stats. It's more designed for sweeper, less designed for ranger. It has lots of vigor and vigor recovery and speed. So if you're running a little bit slow on hazing, this could definitely be a good alternative. My problem with it is, of course, the base attack power is very bad. So both of these weapons are +9, and you'll see at least 150 difference in attack power. And when you're talking 400% critical hit damage, the base attack power adds up real fast. But it is pretty good. The cast delay, you're not going to get any use out of on Ranger. You will get use out of it on Sweeper. So right now, because of Nimble Fingers, we're running 0 cast delay. So even Annihilation Shot, which is at its base 100 cast delay, is 0 at the moment for Rangers. So that's pretty cool. But certainly a good alternative. And BA-200 would also be good for firearm interchangeability. So you might see something like all the 45s for gear, and all of this would convert into firearm interchangeability if you wanted to go for that. But I stick with basically just the best legendaries that I can find and go from there. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really recommend anything in particular. Just take the best gearing you can do. But you do want to aim for, he's a damage dealer, so it's less about block, dodge, armor resistance, more about hit chance, crit chance. So, look for what you can, and maybe add in move or attack power whenever possible. For gearing tools, this is actually very interesting. So, he has the most use in the game out of using weight. Which is going to increase your damage on responses by 50%. And I would consider this for Cruel Challenge, where everything just generally tends to have a bit more health. But remember, this is only going to increase your responsives. And then you could also consider, let's say you're just starting out, and your crit chance isn't high enough, you haven't hit that 75% threshold yet. Drifter's Clown Mark is really not bad. Definitely consider that, and or if you wanted to go for even more critical hit damage, you could throw on Shining Scale. I use White Tiger's Mark because this is going to cover everything, not just your responses, which obviously are very devastating, but also your sweeping fire and your check fire and your shooting spree. To me, it gives him a more well balanced kit. Alright guys, and we have the mastery board. Just real quick, we're going to go over his class mastery for Ranger, which is Wildlife. This is going to give him immunity to basically all the nonsense that happens in like 52 Violent and field effects and stuff. It's also going to give him immunity to weather and temperature effects, which is very powerful in this game. I don't know if you guys have looked at it, but try taking a look at these before you enter a map, and you'll see a great many deal of things that are changing because of weather and temperature. Of course, Heixing is also a spirit user, so just keep that in mind. If you're running a Roar Victory Mad Dog build, this will definitely come into play. Maybe you want to throw in Sharp Spirit or something like that. So this is the Equilibrium build. Feel free to pause at any time, take a look, take a gander, see what you keep, see what you would throw out. For core offensive masteries, we're going to be taking Blood Red Bullet. This is going to change your bleeding to severe bleeding and also increase your bleeding activation by quite a bit. It's also going to give you a flat range attack damage and critical hit damage bonus. On top of that, he's going to get Bloodthirst, and anything that's bleeding, let's say he takes one shot and then he takes a second shot with a responsive, it's actually going to get him -70 AT on a bleeding target. On top of that, of course, you're also going to get Hemorrhage, which is 100% damage increase, like I showed you guys earlier on the 47 Violent video. Very good. We're also going to be taking You're Already Dead. This is going to give him AT degrees on putting any target out of action, not just by responsives. So you can couple this with Sweeping Fire, and this is going to sit Heixing usually at the base 36 AT delay, which is awesome. It's also going to give bonus to Headshot chance. Headshot on its own will activate at 10%, and this is going to increase that to 25. This activates far more than you would think. It's not the mathematical value of 25%. I can guarantee you that. And headshot's going to triple your damage. And I think you know, a lot of the veteran players are probably thinking, oh well, you should probably have breakthrough on. Now you'd be surprised what a bleeding target that's going to take hemorrhage along with headshot being tripled, the amount of damage it does. It really, even if they block it, you're going to see in the thousands to 2,000s of damage, even by blocked hits. So it's really, really pretty crazy. And of course, this makes it part of the AT core of responsives. You're also going to be taking I Know It All already, and this will be that other 30 by responsives. It's also going to be your critical hit chance. So you guys remember that I said 75% is the threshold that you want to be at. This is going to push that to 100, where you're just always going to critical hit on responsive unless it's blocked. And you know, this is going to give you excellent abilities like zeroing. Even though zeroing has very bad synergy, it's a very good ability. It's going to increase your critical hit damage, of course, and you know, it's also going to give you a synergy with Overwatch. And for core defensive masteries, we're going to be taking You Won't Catch Me Off Guard, and this is amazing. Of course, this is going to include base defense, which will grant conceal. It's going to give Hazing that extra block anytime you take cover. Also, when you take cover and end your turn with an attack, you're going to gain Overwatch, and on top of that, you're going to auto Overwatch every time you kill during Overwatch. And you know, that's you're going to see this just like endless cycle of responsives coming from Hazing as long as he's getting his kills in. So this is just a totally awesome ability, and definitely his core defense. We're also going to be taking I'm Not Down Yet. This is going to give you cover move, of course, which is a devastating ability. It's going to shred your enemy hit chance by 50%. Conceal, it's going to give you another 10%, so they're going to lose a 60% hit chance anytime you're taking cover. And this is also going to give you damage reduction. So you're going to get a reduced 30% damage taken if you are taking cover during cover move. On top of that, you're also going to increase your revenge shot slots. So normally, revenge shot is just going to activate one time. This is going to push that up to 4. So this is such a great ability, and I have a showcase that I can show you guys. Okay, and we're going to do the Equilibrium defensive showcase here. So we're on 50 Violent. We got Destrons everywhere, galore, and we're going to open up with Sweeping Fire, get the armor breaks going on all these guys, and get everything bleeding and whatnot. And this is going to trigger my team to kind of go ham. Hazing, of course, is going to start, you know, going off of all these responsives. And what's neat here is White Destron's going to start fighting back with automatic suppressive counterattack, but he won't be able to hit him thanks to cover move. And so Hazing's going to take no damage. This Ranger is going to get in on the action with fire support, and this is going to start triggering his revenge shot. So he'll start he'll start fighting back. He took no damage, and he'll start getting AT reduction thanks to taking targets out of action. Of course, he ends up knocking out the White Destron, but this will generally be quite a AT increase, and so this is the kind of thing where you really want Kylie for. You know, once he hits maybe, I don't know, 150 or higher AT, you do want to do an Awaken on him. But even if you don't, if he's within range, he's going to continue to do fire support. So even after this, even, you know, if somebody else were to start hitting Schwartz, he'd still be adding to the damage there. And it just goes to show how good cover move and revenge shot are. Okay, and for core support masteries, we're going to be taking rapid fire. This is going to be your further cast delay decrease. So you're going to get 50% from nimble fingers, 25% from reload, and then another 25% from rapid fire, giving you 0% cast delay, which is also, or 100% cast delay rather. You're also going to get chain fire. Chain fire is going to switch from like a very long 9 or 10 turn cooldown to 5 turn cooldown. This is excellent for kind of doubling up on a single target, or, you know, get creative with this. You can sweeping fire with it as well. You'd be surprised what you can do with this. On top of that, it's also going to give you a little bit of extra speed, and for me, that extra 10 is just enough to put him over the threshold of under 50 usual action time. So it just happens to work really well for him. We're also going to be taking I Can Do This. Most people know this as kind of the machine killer specialty, and that is important. But it's also going to be giving us nimble fingers. This is going to give us, obviously 50% of the cast delay, but also very importantly, 50% vigor. If this was on sweeper, man, it would be so good and absolutely mandatory. But I Can Do This. Of course, you're going to have a whopping 100% critical hit damage increase. You're also going to have guaranteed armor break anytime you hit it, which of course is great on Destrons and Krons because you have to do a certain amount of hits. You can't just skip and instant kill them in one hit. It's also going to give the flat 50% critical hit damage, so it's not just a bonus to machines, but it definitely has a machine specialization. And if you absolutely need to, you could drop Machine Hunter here. Let's say you're going to 52 Violent for Crab Mets, and just throw on Beast Hunter. Or if you want kind of a more well-rounded build, you could just throw on Breakthrough for Block Shred. But again, you'd be very surprised what a target that has Hemorrhage and then gets headshot with. It does incredible damage even blocked, and it approaches that Scion level of punch through damage. All right, and we have the Equilibrium Showcase here. We're on 47 Violent right here, just taking Hexing's turn and killing a spider that got to the back row there. But you can see at the middle of the party here, he can basically overwatch and kind of take a look and protect everyone in the party. And even though he's not even on the AT board now because he just took his turn to kill, guess what? He's now back on it. And he's still refreshing Overwatch. So anything that comes anywhere close, he's going to protect the party with, and he's also going to get the kill, and he's also going to get the AT. So really is amazing. We're going to have him kill the spider over by Elisa because we're going to sweeping fire the other direction down the tunnel. So we're going to have more enemies take their turn, and this spider is going to come off from the side of the tunnel. Again, Hexing, not even, he's at 30 AT on the board. He's up again along with Giselle. So it shouldn't be underestimated. It's basically the same as a killing spree and having one shot, one kill. It's really nuts. Jizzy's up, so we're actually going to send her up into trapping territory on these frogs. I happen to like trapping on the frogs because they have impulse fields, and usually that will trigger curse. And when you're using a trap, it's going to force the curse to hit the trap, which of course just disappears anyway. But so Hexing's now up again, and we're going to do a sweeping fire on this area. But what's neat about sweeping fire is it can also hit things that are out of line of sight. So right here, even though you guys see, sweeping fire was only targeting 5 or 6, you're going to see these Dororis come in, and they're going to die right there in the back. These 48-22s you're going to see. Sweeping fire is such a nuts ability, really. So he's going to lay out most of the units there to include Mutant Nagori down on the front there. In the back row, we're going to have a frog come in. He's going to trigger the trap. All those impulse fields and curses are going to go off, and confusion's going to set in, which is going to give them a mini turn. Mini turn moving means Hexing gets to Overwatch, which means, of course, wherever he is on the AT board, he's at 14 right now. He's going to get back up again. So, just to give you guys some perspective, I think only 15 to 18 AT has elapsed, and Hexing has gotten like 5 turns or so. So they're going to act confused, and Hexing's going to get up again, and we're going to push him forward even though there's no tank up here because he's just on a killing spree. So we're going to chain fire and take care of these possible flankers, the frogs off on the side here. And this is just normal gameplay for Ranger. It really is an amazing class. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. Ranger is an incredible class, but it is primarily fire support. It's very different than his sweeper version, and I like to compare it to Bianca very often. Bianca's Black Mage, which is very fast, very, in your face, heavy damage, is very much like sweeper, and Bianca's Witch is very much like Ranger in that there's a lot of debuffing and buffing mechanics involved. Originally at its core, Ranger has silence, it has poison, it has bleeding, it has all these debuffs that absolutely murder targets. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of like ESP users where you can silence right now. And so I've found that this build kind of navigates closer towards all these clowns and crabmets where, Blood Red Bullet is making sure that there's bleeding. That bleeding is stopping their movement from coming as far or forcing them to deal with a really high distance traveled penalty, if you know what I mean. But absolutely love this class, and I really particularly like that he murders machines, and he was kind of my first real damage dealer for Destrons and Krons when I first started. So definitely recommend that if you guys don't have like a dedicated person for that. Um, that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch and YouTube, and until next time.